Welcome back to Talking Teens. I'm Nural. Thanks for taking the time to return to my podcast. I really appreciate your interest and your listening ears. I wanted to start today's podcast with a journey into my classroom, if you will. I need you to walk with me on this one. I'm about to walk around the room and hand back an assessment that I have finished marking. I give it to one student. Their grade is lower than they had hoped for. But then they come up to me after class. They've got their paper in their hands and they say, "Hey miss, can I speak to you about my grade? I thought this was correct. Can I still get the mark?" Or, "I did do it. I just did it differently and it's actually over here on the other page. You just didn't see it. Can I still get the mark?" And either I explain why they didn't get the mark, or, and this happens, I genuinely didn't see it in my rush to finish it. So they don't let the setback get them down. They're more than willing to try again and challenge me on getting a better grade. Then there's the other student. They look at their grade. It's a little bit lower than they were hoping for, and their shoulders just slump. It is not just disappointment. It's an air of resignation and hopelessness. They mutter to themselves, "Oh well, at least I tried," not even wanting to look at my feedback or suggestions. They're not happy, and they've resigned to the fact they've just turned the paper over and shrugged their shoulders and thought that was it. Two students, one disappointing grade, two completely different reactions. That difference right there is resilience, and it's not something a teenager is just born with. So where does it come from? And what's our role as parents in building it? That's what we're talking about today. The core message today is that a teenager's ability to handle the tough stuff is deeply connected to the foundations laid in their early childhood. Resilience is a skill and it's built over time. It's not magic. You aren't always born with it. So let's get on the same page. In layman's terms, resilience is the ability to cope when things don't go as planned. It's a vital life skill, and let's be honest, as adults, we know that shit happens. You write off your car, you lose your job, a relationship you thought was forever suddenly ends. You get the picture. Resilience isn't about voiding these things, it's about not letting them break you. It's the skill of getting back up and figuring out what's next. And this skill doesn't just magically appear, or it didn't just magically appear, when you turn 18. The roots are planted way back in early childhood, and it's the classic kind of thinking stuff that you've all done or seen other kids do. It's the toddler who falls over 100th time while they're learning to walk, and all we say is, "Whoopsie daisy, up you get." It's the kid learning to ride a bike who keeps falling off and scraping their knees. They cry for a minute, but you know what? They're up and having another go. They're trying again, and you are encouraging that. You've never stopped encouraging that. But it is also built on 4 pillars that you might not have thought of. So I want to run you through these very briefly. The first thing is you need to be helping them build strong relationships. The second one is growing their independence. The third one is learning to name their emotions. And the fourth one is building their confidence. Then as they get a bit older, they're in primary and middle school, and the stakes get higher. The falls are less about scraped knees and more about the bruised egos or tricky friendships. And our job has to change from when they were as toddlers. We have to slowly, and believe me, this is hard, shift from being the on-field protector to the off-field coach. It's about biting your tongue when you want to call that other parent and have a crack at them, and instead asking your child, "What do you think you could do about this?" And then you hit the teenage years, and this is the big league. Resilience now is more internal. It's the kid who can get that bad grade and not spiral down into, "I'm a total failure." It's the kid who has the self-awareness to say, "All right, that hurt, but it's not the end of the world. I'll just do what I do and do it again. They've learnt to be kind to themselves, to have some self-compassion, which, if I'm being honest, is a skill most of us adults are still working on. And I see this all the time in my own profession. Not every teacher is a Teacher of the Year contender. We've all seen those types of teachers, and I've written about them in my book, The Broken World of Education, and I called them Type 4s and Type 5s teachers. They're the ones who are burnt out. That can happen to a lot of teachers though. And they're the ones who are negative. In the classroom, sarcasm and put downs are kind of their modus operandi. When a kid is stuck in that classroom for a semester, you see the resilience or the lack of it in clear view. The less resilient teen sees the teacher as a hard stop. They check out and they blame the teacher. It's their fault. I had a really bad teacher last year. I didn't understand anything. And their learning grinds to a halt. But the resilient teen, they figure it out. That less than optimal teacher is not a block for them. They will find other ways to learn. They often seek out another teacher for help, or they will watch YouTube videos on the topic, or they ask around. They form kind of a study group. If someone's doing the same class as them with a different teacher, they'll actually go to them and actually say to them, hey, what are you guys doing? I don't really understand it. Can you help me with it? So as parents, we need to help them build to that. We need to help our teenagers have that resilience and that practical resilience that's going to carry them through life. The first piece of practical advice I can give you, because I've got 3. The first thing you need to do, as I've said it before, you need to connect over correct. This is the heart of it all. When your team comes to you with that disappointing grade, the temptation to get mad and jump down their throat and say, what went wrong? What's going on? Is really hard. But the resilient building approach is to sit with them and have a look at the feedback that was given on that assessment together, or at least have a read of it, and then say, hey, what's your take on this? Did you do it or not really? Did you understand it? Like, what's going on? But you need to be also careful of your own educational echoes and make sure that your help isn't just taking over, because if you remember, that's what I call hindering help. So the first piece of advice is connection over correction with regards to having that disappointing grade. The second piece of advice I can give you is that you need to coach them on navigating their own social values. And this is because the teenage world is a social minefield. They are more social than most people realize. And it is so important to help them navigate that minefield of their social circles, because things can get complicated. When friendships get complicated, you can almost give them a script, what to say. And I've said this to my own kids many times. All I've said to them is, as you get older, you'll see friends doing things differently than what our family does or what you do. That doesn't make it wrong. It just makes them different, and that's okay. So what you need to do is you can quietly move on and find people who share your values and your beliefs, or our family values and our family beliefs. You don't have to do what everyone else does, but you need to be respectful about it. You don't need to be mean or nasty about it. So helping them navigate their social values is really important. The third one is you need to become their, or be aware of, their self-talk. This is what I think is the most important idea that needs to be constantly drilled into our kids and our teenagers. When a teen fails or stumbles, their inner critic can be so brutal. You'll hear them mutter, I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb. What the hell? What am I doing? Your job is to help them challenge that voice. Ask them my favorite question when you notice them saying this. According to who? Inevitably, they'll say, well, no one. Just me. I say it to myself. And that's your opening. Exactly. So why are you telling yourself that? You talk to yourself more than anyone else. So make sure you are saying the right things. Stop telling yourself you are so dumb, you are so stupid. And all of this really connects to the work of two of my favorite thinkers, the researcher Dr. Brené Brown, who taught us about the internal courage needed to be vulnerable and how to get back up after we fall. At the same time, the educator Sir Ken Robinson argued that for courage to flourish, we have to create the right environment, one where it's safe to make mistakes. So as parents, our job is twofold. We need to help our teens build that internal courage and to create a home environment that is safe enough for them to practice failing, falling, and getting back up again. So the final thought I want to leave you with today is this. I want you to be aware of the internal thoughts of your kids. When you hear that negative self-talk, remember to ask them that one simple question. According to who? Because it opens the door to a conversation about where their mind is at. And this is where the real work of building resilience begins. Join me next time on Talking Teens for a real behind-the-curtain look at one of the biggest challenges in our schools today. In our last episode, I mentioned the symptoms of teen anxiety. You've seen the smoke. Next week, I'm taking you inside the fire. We'll do a deep dive into what anxiety really looks like from a teacher's perspective day to day and what we desperately want our parents to understand. Until then, remember that focus, connection over correction. Thank you for listening. I'm Nural, and this is Talking Teens.